Religion is wrong. Just kidding. I only say that to shock you so you can brace yourself for the rest of this episode. Now, it's not going to get any crazier than that, although it might sound like it, but just bear with me and you'll see I don't intend to offend anyone. Now, I know religion is a touchy subject, but I feel like I need to say this so that I can set the stage for the rest of this episode and the series as a whole. What I have to say is a bit out there, but you don't actually have to agree with me. I just want to share with you my perspective. My first official episode is going to be about a video game character, if that gives you any indication of how tame this will actually be. Now, where am I actually going with this? Are we ruled by fiction? There are many religions out there across the world and many iterations of them, all different interpretations of how this world works and how we should live our lives. Whether you're atheist, agnostic, or even religious, you'd have to agree that virtually all religion is wrong. Okay, hear me out. Put it like this, if there were 1 million religions, then there's at least 999,999 wrong ones, depending on if you believe in one of your own. This is because only one can be right, while the others are inaccurate. So in a sense, there would be a 99.9999% chance that they're wrong. With that being said, is that a bad thing? Should you be upset that there's less than 1% chance of a religion that you or someone else believe in is actually true? I'd say no. I wouldn't claim a religion to be evil or belief in a religion to be foolish just on the basis that the religion is untrue. Now, why would I or anyone else think that? Well, there's the obvious notion of coexistence. The world would be a better place with more tolerance and less bigotry. Of course, I agree with that, but I actually have my own line of thinking in addition to that. Typically, a theology includes accounts from throughout history to support the legitimacy of the religion and to convey a relatable message. There's a 99% chance of those accounts being untrue. One way you could look at it is that the stories are lies being told to maliciously deceive people. But another way you could look at it is that it's actually a fictional story being told by an author. Maybe they are lies told to manipulate people. I tend to believe that they are works of fiction meant to inspire and teach people. Let's say one person believes that the events in the Bible are true messages straight from God and are meant to warn us of events to come, while another sees it as an author telling a story full of allegories meant to teach people how to deal with the struggles humans tend to face in their life. In my eyes, it isn't very relevant which of the two is right, because both can take away the same values from the Bible and lead very similar, fulfilling lives. This brings me on to my whole point. Throughout human history, people have been living fulfilling lives based off of fiction. Remember, I don't say this to disrespect what you believe in. Even if you are Christian, you could acknowledge that there are people who live fulfilling lives believing in Hinduism, and vice versa. And for those that are non-religious, even though you may not be able to understand their faith, there are people who are living fulfilling lives based off something you think is fiction. Fiction and art are powerful tools that can be used to teach and has the potential to bring about change on a global scale. In the past, a good story could become a religion. I don't see that happening in today's world, nor do I see it as necessary, although there are the rare exceptions, such as those reporting their religion as Jediism. Regardless, in my opinion, modern stories don't need to be recognized as religion, but rather the potential they have to teach and inspire should actually be what is recognized. And with that being said, I can move on to what this series is really going to be about. Yay! No more precarious religious talk. Okay, so let's fast forward past the religion onto the likes of Dante's Divine Comedy. We have Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, Fitzgerald's Great Gatsby, Orwell's Animal Farm, all of which are legendary pieces of fiction that have shaped history. Although they aren't religious texts, they are highly respected because it's acknowledged there's a lot to learn from humanity in those books. However, I found them boring. So when I was assigned them in school, I didn't actually learn very much from them. Don't get me wrong, I do honestly believe you should study fiction to better yourself. However, I do have a caveat to that notion. So yeah, you should read books, and that much is told and expected of you in school. However, I'm here to tell you that the literature you should be giving serious consideration to does not have to be limited to just what's highly respected or what's assigned to you in class. The stories I learned the most from were the ones I was already consuming as entertainment. For the sake of the stuff you enjoy, you give up your time. You are willing to dedicate that because whatever you are participating in is something that resonates with you rather than bore you. You might be wondering, if authors are trying to teach us morals and lessons, then why don't they just outright say it? Well, that's simple, for the sake of the entertainment value. The thing is, when writing a story, an author can't divulge everything that is intended to be interpreted by the audience. When your story is too on the nose, it's a sign of poor storytelling and can interrupt the flow of the story. A follow-up question would be, well, what is stopping them from explaining it after the story has been told? Well, I got 3 reasons. 1. If they have to explain the moral of the story, then the author is admitting that they didn't tell the story well enough. A proud author would believe that their story speaks for itself. 2. The author will stunt any discussion about the topic amongst the audience. The consumers will feel less compelled to figure it out when the author is just going to tell them. The author can rob their fans' sense of accomplishment. Number 3. As a follow-up to number 2, being forthcoming isn't as effective as allowing the reader to come to their own conclusions. Sure, telling the whole world what the moral is will be acknowledged by more people, but those few that had the potential to figure it out probably would have been impacted more had they done it themselves. The masses you tell may think it's interesting for a little while and then move on. However, the people that could have figured it out for themselves may hold on to those morals for the rest of their life. As someone who enjoys dissecting a story and discussing it with others, I have noticed something amongst many of the people within the communities of the stories I follow. There are a lot of people that aren't even trying to look past the surface level of a story. To quote Nobel Prize award-winning writer Naguib Mahfouz, an allegory is not meant to be taken literally. There's a great lack of comprehension on the part of some readers.
Too many are concerned with what to look into. Sometimes things are meant to be understood just for the sake of being understood. I know many that would ignore or disregard an analysis because it has no bearing on the lore or the canon. And then there's those who want to know more, but they don't want to put in the work. A lot are afraid there might not be anything worth looking into. However, often authors are looking to give you questions, not answers. And it's up to you to come up with your own answer.
Alas, even when some know there's a possible deeper meaning, they don't want to bother. I guess it's because if the author isn't going to tell them, then there's going to be someone on the internet figuring it out for them. Yeah, I know, I'm just going to be another one of those guys figuring it out. But with my show, I really want to emphasize the importance of searching for the deeper meaning and trying to give insight into how I come to my conclusions. A big part of searching for the deeper meaning in art is free thinking. It's a gift to be able to pull yourself away from the mainstream. No, I'm not just saying that for the sake of trying to sound edgy or cool, rather to encourage people to be in charge of their own destinies.
Don't let others determine your opinions, beliefs, and most importantly, your life. Now sure, the things I'm going to be finding the deeper meaning in are just stories, but they meant a lot to me. And I know that they meant a lot to me, and there's a lot to learn, and that's why I want to share with you. I have no reason to doubt myself. Now, I don't expect you to automatically trust me, but rather to judge me. There are a lot of people that would tell you, don't judge me, just trust in me because I know better. Now, while they may know better from their experience, that's not going to truly help you unless they can convey their ideas to you and you properly understand what they're trying to convey to you. Life is full of endless possibilities, but stories are limited. It's easy to dissect, explore, and discover those limited passages. Use what you can learn from searching for deeper meaning in stories and apply it to your real life. Just listen to how one of my favorite YouTubers talks about an anime he enjoys.
I am happy to gracefully let One Piece retire. However, I don't want the lessons that we have learned along the way to go to waste. So who I'm speaking to is not Eiichiro Oda, who frankly is a god, who I would do nothing but praise endlessly if he was before me, as one of the most important people in my life. He taught me about friendship, he taught me about adventure, he taught me about what it means to be a real man, and no, I'm not crying! But when you and me, the creators of tomorrow, go on and make our stories, don't lose sight of the thing that makes your adventure great.
The same thing he said about Eiichiro Oda, I could say about Tetsuya Nomura. Except, I wouldn't call him a god, but my point is, just look at the way he talks about the story and how it's impacted his life. Now, I'm sure he didn't get that way just from looking at other people's reviews or analysis or theories. He came to that conclusion on his own because he read it on his own. Being able to analyze and come to your own conclusion on fictional series just may prepare you for real life. The best place that deep thinking is applicable is your own self. Deep inside of you is your purpose. Find that and it won't lead you astray. I can't answer what the meaning of your life is, but hopefully I can show you ways to go about finding that answer.
Now you may think that Mr. Best Guy Ever is ridiculous for allowing a cartoon to have impacted his life so much, or me crazy for looking into the deeper meaning of a video game, talking about Kingdom Hearts. However, in the pursuit of figuring out this game, my whole outlook on life and what I want to do with my time and capabilities have changed. It opened my eyes not just to the story Nomura wanted to tell, but the allegory and messages that so many authors and artists are trying to convey. For this first season, I want to focus on manga, anime, and video games. In the next, I might switch it up and lead towards sitcoms, comics, music, or whatever else I enjoy. Emphasis on what I enjoy. I won't do an analysis on a story just because it has a good message or is trending. It has to be something that truly resonates with me, and there's only so much that fits that requirement. If I don't cover something you're interested in, you shouldn't ask me to do it. Go for it yourself. I hope I can inspire others to look for the deeper meanings in what they enjoy, and then they share it with the rest of us. Go out there and find what resonates with you. See if there's more to it, and don't ever be discouraged by the merit of whatever you're interested in. This series isn't going to be about how good or bad a story can be. You'll notice a lot of my videos will primarily be focusing on the good of a series, and not so much the bad. Please don't mistake this as sugarcoating. It's because there's a time and a place for everything. I'm sure whatever story I do a deep dive on, you can find a critical review for. My goal is to show you that you can find the good in something and take that with you to have a positive effect on your life. For example, I know that Kingdom Hearts is a confusing mess of a story, but it also forces you to go above and beyond to try to understand its story. The gripe I have with its story lasts in the moment, but the positive morals to be found will last with me for the rest of my life. It's possible that an author isn't very good at writing, or an artist isn't very great at drawing. That shouldn't take away from the message they could be trying to convey, because you are free to choose what you take away from it. There's a lot of good messaging, but there's also a lot of bad. Learning to discern the good from the bad can make you a better writer, as well as a better viewer.
Now, I know that may sound weird, but you should want to be a better viewer. It means getting the most out of your entertainment. You give up your time and sometimes money to experience someone else's vision. I'm not trying to discourage you, of course, because obviously I want to create content and share stories with the world. Something comparable to an amusement park. You want to get on every ride before your visit is over, to maximize your experience. Now, I'm not trying to say you've been wasting your time being a bad viewer, because as long as you have it as a memory, you can look back to what the authors were trying to teach you. Now, what I really hope to accomplish with my video, channel, series, or whatever I produce is to educate, entertain, and inspire.
Thanks for watching. If you want to see more in the future, then subscribe. Want to be my first every video? Then hit that bell icon. Maybe subscribing is too much of a commitment, but you still want to see me around? Well, then it's a good thing you can like the video. It lets YouTube know you want to see videos like these suggested to you. Communication is key to a great relationship, so leave a comment or reach out to my email, Twitter, or wherever else you can find me. Check the time bar, there might be more left of this video. If not, then I hope to see you next time. Bye.
Welcome to the secret ending, a place where I just talk about stuff that I didn't feel like putting in the video for time reasons and also to maintain a consistent flow. Usually I'm a very detailed oriented person, so I try to be as precise as possible with the things I'm saying, and I tend to elaborate, and then me elaborating becomes redundant, and I don't think that'd be very entertaining. So, I always cut down what I have to say. In fact, I don't cut down, I write a script, and everything I say for the most part is scripted. And even when I say something that's not in the script, I'll actually just edit the script on the fly. So a lot of times you'll notice I'll be looking down in my videos at the ground, and it's not actually at the ground. I have this tablet, it has my Google document, and I have this. It's a dry erase board, so I can take notes on the fly. But that's pretty much it. Yeah, this video turned out way better than I expected. It always starts out with me writing the script. That's the easy part. I wouldn't say exactly it's easy, it's just not as stressful. Then I gotta record, and recording is, it's so much. It's not so much that I don't want to record or have a problem with recording. It's that I'm so proactive. I like to see things ahead of time. So I'm always planning what's going to be on the screen while I'm saying this. Am I saying this the right way? Can I be saying it differently? Which leads to me changing the script on the fly. And I just got to put less stress on myself whenever I record and just focus on recording, doing just that. But yeah, it turned out really well. One time I was recording and I said in the video, like I was recording, I was really stressed out and I kept on making mistakes, and I said to myself, the editing me or future me is going to be so mad that he has to deal with all this. And then in the future, as I was editing, I'm thinking, well, that's ridiculous. This is actually really easy, because when I'm editing, I'm already done with the recording part, so I don't even have to worry about that. But when I'm recording, I have to worry about recording and then what's going to happen when I edit. Well, sometimes you shouldn't stress so much about the future, because I'm a reliable person. So I should already know that I can rely on myself to take care of anything like that in the future. And I always do. I mean, this video turned out beyond my imagination, how well it turned out. So it starts out with deep dive, and it shows in space. So I actually made that in like 5 minutes, and I made it because I was supposed to have a logo, but I couldn't find a person to make it. It took a while until I found just the right person to do it, and they got it done, and they got it done earlier than I expected. So I actually got to put my logo in this video. I still kept my 5-minute made logo as the beginning, but towards, like, even the first chapter title card shows the real logo, who was made by the Hungry Artist. So then I start off with, religion is wrong. I mean, what a terrible way to start off. But the way I looked at it is, it was super relevant to what I had to say, or why this video series is even being made. So why not say that? Why hold back or censor myself? But another way I was looking at it is, there are people that are going to be upset in the fandoms of these videos I make about video games, animes, mangas, comedy shows, or whatever, because some people have an idea stuck in their head of what this show or this character is supposed to be, and it may be entirely different. And some people get upset about that, offended. They'll lash out and say, you're an idiot, you don't know what you're talking about. And I know that's going to happen. I'm not worried about that at all. But I figured, if I could talk about one of the most controversial things you could talk about, religion, then, I mean, what else can I go from there? just like at the beginning of the video, I said it's to shock you. From there on, I don't think there's anything else that could really get you worked up, although there are people out there that will defend their video game character to the ends of the earth. I put in a lightning effect, so I'm actually using Filmora Pro. That was my third option. I started with DaVinci, then I moved on to Adobe Premiere Elements, not Premiere Pro. That's way too expensive. And then I moved on to Filmora. So DaVinci was amazing. I loved it. I had the free beta version. I liked it, and I had it on this old computer. I couldn't even use it that well on the old computer, but I knew I was going to get a new computer and move on to that. So I got the new computer, downloaded DaVinci, and it didn't work. And I was upset, but I didn't have enough time to do anything because I was getting really anxious about making a video, and I wasn't going to hold that off just to figure out the DaVinci problem, so I just had to move on. I moved on to Adobe Premiere Elements. I don't like it, so moved on to something else. What I found was, I don't even remember what the article was about, but it was an article promoting a editing software, and it wasn't Filmora. It was actually Filmora's website. So Filmora had an article promoting another video software, and just off the bat I thought that was cool. Like, what kind of person promotes their own competition? But it was a article trying to teach new people or newcomers how to get into video editing software. So it was really earnest and genuine and just trying to help people, even though it could lead to their competitors. So anyway, Filmora Pro was pretty cool, so I stuck with it. There are problems. The main one is you can't render a video. I'm not even gonna go on that because there's a lot of people that won't know what that means, but if anybody does, then they know that that's awful. But my computer's really good, so that's not a big deal. Anyway, I'm moving on. This sounds boring. My editing is completely self-taught. Not self-taught. So let's get back to when I was talking about DaVinci. The reason I liked DaVinci so much wasn't even because of the program. The reason I liked it was because they had an amazing learning program. So I would actually advise anyone that's going to start video editing, start with DaVinci, because they have a really good learning program. And I learned so much just from using DaVinci the first time around that I don't think I would have learned with pretty much any other software. So then I went and I started using numbers and percentages to explain religion, right versus wrong. And the reason I did that is because a lot of times I think like a logical thinking is usually shorted with just atheism and proving religion wrong. And I was like, all right, let me try my take at, it's not even saying proving it wrong or right. It's really using a logical reasoning to say you can't really prove it wrong or right. Okay, so my favorite show is Arrested Development, and it's hilarious, but one of the amazing things that I cherish so much is just how many jokes there are on screen or being said. It's just joke here, there. It's so detailed. And I kind of apply that to my own video. And I think my own videos going forward is I'm just so much detail. And I know it could be too much. I don't expect someone to just understand everything that's happening in one go. And I even put a little message in there for a split second where it says, pro tip, watch it the whole way through without pausing. And I was actually talking about the show Arrested Development, and I was talking about my videos at the same time. Just watch it, don't pause. Then watch it a second time and pause here, pause there. Because there's so much detail you can't pause. You're going to keep pausing every 5 seconds. It's not going to be enjoyable unless you watched it the first time. When you watch it the second time, you're trying to catch what this means, what that means, you know. But yeah. Now, I have so many quotes on screen. And you might be surprised. Of all those quotes, there was only one that was actually planned, and that was Naguib Mahfouz, and you can tell because I actually reference it in the video. All those other quotes were me referencing it after the fact that I recorded and wrote the video, all in editing. You know, it wasn't that those quotes influenced what I said or wrote, but it was the other way around. Those people watched my videos and they came up with that. Albert Einstein is actually a really big fan of my work. But that's pretty much it. I was just saying things and then pretty much like Googling. If I'm talking about spoon feeding, I'll go and Google spoon feeding quotes. And then, boom, I got someone talking about spoon feeding, and that's a great quote. A reason why I have so many of those on screen is two reasons. One, I try my best not to record in front of camera because I don't have a recording room and it doesn't sound really good when I'm recording in that. It's a closet, if you're wondering. And two, I don't like jump cuts. So I try to use as many things to cover up any time I have to edit and jump cut. In fact, I don't think I have yet to shown an actual jump cut in my video. And there's nothing crazy wrong about it. I've been watching Philip DeFranco for like 10 years now. Maybe not 10 years, like probably like 7. But yeah, nothing wrong with jump cuts. I just don't like me doing jump cuts. Maybe that's an issue with myself. But yeah, just wanted to specifically talk about Arrested Development because it led into me talking about B-roll or secondary images being shown up. It only makes sense that I use quotes because usually in a regular episode it'd be about a story that exists that I can pull from, and if I'm referencing, a theory and evidence from a scene, even just a picture, anything, I got that, and that's so easy to make as B-roll. But this is my ideology in this episode, so it's real life. What do I have to pull from? So I just reference reputable people with similar ideas, and those are my evidence. So one thing I wanted to talk more about was, the why don't authors talk about their series, and also another thing I wanted to follow up to that because I feel like I did a good job. Talking about why they didn't. I gave 3 reasons why. Another thing I was going to talk about was, and why don't they confirm theories? I kind of did a little thing there. I made a picture of baby being spoon-fed, and it references how J.K. Rowling constantly is saying this happened, or this character was meant to be this way, all after the fact. And who knows whether she truly meant to write it that way or not. It's really irrelevant to me. But the problem is, you shouldn't be stopping people from talking about how they interpret the work. I mean, I feel like a fan or a reader, they own that, their interpretation. I wouldn't want to take that away from that person, because once you do that, then they're just wrong, and like, what's the point of bringing it up? Unless you go out there and explicitly say after the fact of confirming it, oh yeah, and you can also think this. But then why even do that? It gets messy, so don't confirm your fans' theories unless you're doing it in the story. That's the only way it should, because the story should speak for itself. What I also was going to talk about was, even authors don't like seeing the theories themselves sometimes, but it wasn't really relevant, so I didn't think of bringing that up. But I am making a series called 1 Minute Theories, and I'm going to have an episode 0, just like I have for this, explaining pretty much why that series exists. Well, that's not exactly why, but I'll talk about that later. I'm going to reference George R. Martin, and he says he sees theories and they could be correct, and that could actually upset him and make him want to change, the story. But you can't really do that, because then you're going to mess up your own story. He's also said he can't go into forums and discuss it with other people, because then all the attention goes to him, and it's not a fair balance of power. So yeah, I really admire George R. Martin as a writer, and I've never read one of his books or even watched Game of Thrones. I've actually just seen how the fans reacted to his work, and seeing them be so passionate about what he's created, I just admire him as a writer, because I can see just from the fans' passion how great he has to be. So I actually see in interviews, I watch a lot of videos of people dissecting his work. So I watched The Take. Really big inspiration to my videos is The Take overall, but I see they make a lot of Game of Thrones videos on The Take. YouTuber Sawyer7Mage, he makes great videos. I've been watching him since all the way back in the Naruto Pain arc. That was years and years and years ago. So it's been a long time that I've been watching those videos, and he does very great, well thought out Game of Thrones review videos. And just seeing the way fans even reacted negatively to season 8 shows just how much they care. And that seemed like a big disappointment, and it actually made me happy I never got invested, because I didn't want to be disappointed like that. And I also referenced MatPat's video in there as one of the internet people, that people look to for theories and stuff. And I referenced Sans is Ness. And that was just a thing that's very recognizable amongst all of his theories that a lot of people know of and have made fun of. And I actually really liked that episode. That's one of my favorite episodes. It's why I do what I'm doing now. Going back to what Naguib Mahfouz said, you don't have to understand something for the sake of the lore of the canon. Some things are meant to be understood just for the sake of being understood. Not everything has to be literal, even in literature. And I got that. And for some people, it's hard to comprehend. They think that he's saying Sans is Ness. Well, obviously, he's not. Undertale isn't Nintendo, so there's no way Sans could actually be Ness. His whole point was that it was sort of in a fan fiction way that Sans used to be someone that represented Ness, not actually Ness. And I think that's reasonable. Like, that could just be the inspiration. That could have been the very core of who Sans was. And then maybe the man who made Undertale kept that in the canon and the lore, or maybe he diverted at some point and wanted to do something else. But it's still very possible that at the very beginning, Sans was supposed to be Ness, represented as Ness. I mean, that's it. And I thought that was a great theory, and he had a lot of evidence to support it. And he said that Sans is Ness to, sensationalize it and make it more eye-catching. And unfortunately had a very negative effect. But I feel like a lot of that was on the part of the audience not being able to understand what he was trying to say. But that's just how it happens. You can't force how people react to things. There was like one more thing that I really wanted to say, but I didn't want it to ruin the flow of my video. So I said a lot of times in the beginning, religion, agnostic, atheist. Well, let's just forget the agnostic. It's not really relevant. But the religion versus atheist, that bothers me because I'm a very literal person. But I say religion versus atheist because it's much more understandable. Like, anybody would see that and they know exactly what I'm supposed to be talking about. But it bothers me because not all religions are theistic. So it doesn't make sense to say religion versus atheist, because you could be talking about Christianity versus Buddhism. It's really wide range when you're talking about anything religious, because there's so many different types of religion. So I didn't like at first that I said religion versus atheist. And I was going to go through a whole thing where I try to explain what I'm trying to say and be more technical. And then I was like, nah, that's just not very entertaining to watch. Anybody that sees is know what I mean when I say religion versus atheist. I'm not actually talking about Buddhism. Usually people would think Buddhism is on the religion side when religion versus atheist. But yeah, that was pretty much it. Thanks for watching if you watched all the way to the end.